With football season upon us now, there's a lot happening in the news, so be sure to subscribe to my other channel, JG9 News, where I give you up-to-the-minute updates on everything happening in the NFL in a completely relaxed, unscripted format, and I give my thoughts on everything taking place around the National Football League today. And now, on with our feature presentation. September 8th, 2024. It's week 1 of a brand new NFL season, and we've got a battle on our hands over at Lumen Field in Seattle between the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks, in what is, by far, the biggest game that these teams have ever played against each other. Can't think of any others off the top of my head. Anyways, for the main team in our story, the Denver Broncos, this feels like an important game. And not just because it's the opening day of the season, and you always want to start off on the right foot. The early schedule for Denver is pretty tough on paper. After this game, you've got 2 straight games against playoff teams from last year, and a game against a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. This feels, on paper, like the most winnable game of the first 4 on the docket. Win this one, and things look up for you, especially with a rookie quarterback under center. Lose this one, and this might be a rough start to the season on paper. That means, more than ever, it's important that you don't do anything stupid and mismanage the situation at hand, which I'm sure you can guess based on this video, did not happen. But before I explain how it didn't happen, because it's a bit of a doozy, I make videos every single day about the weird and wacky history of the NFL. So if you like that sort of stuff, then be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel, because we post every single day, including videos about the games that took place this past week. So thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. By this point in the contest, the game was not going great for the Broncos, even though they somehow got 2 safeties in the first half. Seriously, there was a point where the Broncos had 10 points off of 2 field goals and 2 safeties, which is just insane. However, with 2:09 left in the contest, the Broncos have 2 timeouts and find themselves trailing 26-20 with the Seahawks having the ball at the 30-yard line following a kickoff for a touchback. If you're Denver, considering the clock situation and the timeout situation, it is imperative that you call your timeouts right away and get a stop. First down, and the Broncos stop the Seahawks for no gain, which results in Sean Payton taking his first stop. I can't do this anymore, guys. I just can't. I'm broken. This is insane. How are these coaches so bad at mismanaging the clock? How are these coaches consistently putting themselves in crappy situation after crappy situation with timeout management? How are they doing this?
To the 2-minute warning here in Seattle. 6-point Seahawks lead.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton. I mean, how are these coaches so bad at this? This is almost identical to what the Green Bay Packers did on Friday night, and is almost identical to how that situation played out regarding how they mismanaged their timeouts at the end of the contest. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. But sure enough, the Broncos weren't paying attention. They didn't have a Peacock subscription. Sure enough, Sean Payton was not even remotely aware of what was going on. His Bronco tenure has gotten off to a shaky start, and that's putting it lightly. He made some interesting decisions last year, including his awful decision against the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, where he called a timeout for some reason after getting stopped on 3rd down, only to punt the ball away to the Chiefs and give them an extra possession at the end of the first half for no reason, which they promptly took advantage of, because of course they did, because they're the Chiefs. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Not that he was a Hall of Famer before, but Payton might be coaching himself out of the Hall if his stint with the Broncos keeps being as bad and as disastrous as it has been. And decisions like this aren't helping whatsoever. So with that being said, let's take a look at why not calling a timeout with 2:06 left, and instead letting the clock run down to the 2-minute warning for some reason is a really bad idea. At the end of the day, you're down by 6 points. So you need to get a touchdown when you get the ball next to win the game. It's that simple. Anything less than a touchdown the next time you touch the ball is a failure. And the problem is that you've got a rookie quarterback on the other side who isn't exactly seeing the field all that well, and is throwing a lot of short passes. At this point in the contest, despite calling 44 passing plays, you only had 132 net yards, so you were averaging 3 net yards per pass, and you had 2 plays go for longer than 10 yards the entire day through the air. What this means is that, simply put, you do not have an explosive offense. If you're going to score a touchdown, it's likely going to be on a sustained drive, which means you need as much time and as many plays as possible to get it done. This is not like you're the Miami Dolphins, where you can just call one play on a deep pass to Tyreek Hill and have him get behind the defense and flip the game on its head in 10 seconds. Not that that's happened lately. You need as many plays as physically possible for when you get the ball back. And that means that as you manage the clock here, you need to do so in a methodical way that ensures the fact that you get as many plays as possible when you get the ball back. And with the way the clock is situated, you need to call both of your timeouts to get it back. There is no scenario where you can go on an effective drive without burning both of your timeouts. This is not like you had 3 timeouts in the 2-minute warning, in which case, this would be way different, because having an extra timeout to work with is way more important than having a few extra seconds, since it gives you the chance to use the middle of the field and to take a sack without it being a complete disaster. So you need to call your timeouts in a way that gets you the ball back as quickly as possible. And with that, we go to the chalkboard, as we present you with 2 possible options. Obviously, regardless of how you do this, you need to get a 3 and out. If you don't force a 3 and out, the game is over. So let's look at the 2 options for calling a timeout and forcing a 3 and out. Option 1 is what anyone with a brain would have done in this spot, and that is to call a timeout right away at the 2:06 mark. If you call your second timeout at 2:06, on second down, the Seahawks run the ball. That play takes 5 seconds, because we're assuming all runs take 5 seconds, just because most do. Now, you burn your third and final timeout. Third down, and the play takes 5 seconds, where the clock stops automatically at the 2-minute warning. Seeing as that play took 5 seconds, the Seahawks are now punting the ball back to you with 1:56. Assuming a punt takes 8 seconds, that means that you're getting the ball back with 1:48 to work with. Not ideal considering how poor your offense had been all game, but it's better than nothing. Now, let's go to option 2, and see what Sean Payton decided to do by letting the clock run all the way down to the 2-minute warning after first down. Second down, and the Seahawks run the ball. The play takes 5 seconds, so you bring your second timeout at the 1:55 mark. Now, it's third down, and the Seahawks run the ball once again, and you burn your third and final timeout at the 1:50 mark. The Seahawks punt it back to you with 1:50 left on the clock, and assuming a punt takes 8 seconds, you're now getting the ball back with 1:42 to work with. If you need to drive the length of the field to score a touchdown, if you have an offense that's been anemic all game, has not been able to throw down the field whatsoever, and if you have an offense that needs as many plays as possible to get into the end zone, which would you rather have? Would you rather have 1:48 to work with, or 1:42? And don't tell me there is such a thing as scoring too early. Not here. You cross that bridge when you get to it if you get down near the goal line with that scenario in play. Generally speaking, would you rather have 1:48 or 1:42? Of course you want the first one. Of course you want the bigger number. That just makes sense. If you have an impossible task, you want as much time as possible to accomplish it. If you have to write a 2-page paper, I'd rather have 2 days to write it than 1 day if that's what it comes down to. And yet, all by mismanaging his timeouts and not knowing when to call it before the 2-minute warning, that did not happen with Sean Payton and the Broncos. He just wasted 6 seconds for no reason whatsoever. I know you might be thinking to yourself, come on, it's 6 seconds. What's the difference with 6 seconds? Well, an out route takes about 4 seconds to run if you get out of bounds. Most other quick passing plays take anywhere in the ballpark of 5 or 6 seconds to run. So that's an entire play. That one play can make a huge difference. It really could. especially when you got an offense that has not moved the ball well downfield and has not gotten chunk plays. You want as many opportunities as possible in order to move the ball down the field. So why waste one for no reason whatsoever? It's not as though you had to decide between a few extra seconds or a timeout. You have to burn the timeouts either way. So you might as well do it in a way that gives you more opportunities and more chances to do what you have to do. I know it's only one play, but think of how many drives could have been successful late in the game if the offense had just one more play to work with. Exactly. One play is an extra chance to score, and to not take advantage of that for no real reason whatsoever is just stupid. Now obviously, this decision did not matter at the end of the day. The Seahawks ended up getting the first down, and they won it by a final score of 26-20. Regardless of whether or not Sean Payton called this timeout before the 2-minute warning or not, and regardless of whether Payton let it run down to the 2-minute warning like he decided to do, the outcome would have been exactly the same. But that doesn't exempt us from the fact that this was a dumb decision. By every sense of the word, this was a dumb decision. If I take a driver's test, and I decide that it's a good idea during the test to drive 30 miles an hour over the speed limit, and later in the test during the parallel park, I hit the curb, yes, I would have failed either way. Whether I went 30 miles an hour over or not, I would have failed, so it didn't matter. But it still doesn't change the fact that what I did was stupid and could have been incredibly costly. And that's exactly what happened here. Maybe one of these days these coaches will learn how to manage a clock properly and learn that the 2-minute warning is not something you just automatically let the clock run to. Maybe one of these days these coaches will use it to their advantage. But clearly, today is not that day. And as long as it is not that day, we're still going to be making these videos. God help us all. And when I tell you that this is an epidemic across football right now, where coaches do not know how to call timeout whatsoever before the 2-minute warning, I genuinely mean it. Like I said before, you had the Packers-Eagles game on Friday night where this happened to Green Bay and head coach Matt LaFleur. You have this happen in college football on Saturday in the game between Arizona State and Mississippi State, which I'll do a video on JG8 at some point going forward. And then you had this. It's not a hard concept. If you have 2 timeouts, it's before the 2-minute warning, and the other team has a first down, you call the timeout before, and you don't let it wind down to the 2-minute warning. It is not hard. You know, a lot of these teams have 2-point conversion charts that tell you when to go for it and when not to go for it. Do the same for this, because this is getting ridiculous at this point. How many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man? So what do we learn from all of this? I am begging coaches, do not use the 2-minute warning as a crutch. Know when to call your timeouts before the 2-minute warning, and know a thing or two about time management and timeout management. Running out the clock to the 2-minute warning in certain situations doesn't make sense. And if the other team is first down, and you have 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning, that is the quintessential example of when you take your timeouts as soon as possible. If you have a chance to get extra plays when you need extra plays, then for the love of God, take advantage of that chance and get those extra plays. And if you don't know how to call a timeout, then maybe you don't know how to be a good coach. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jg9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.